Imagine the arena lights dimming in Indianapolis. All-star players emerge for warm-ups in jet black shirts, reading, "Pay us what you owe us." That single image sent a shockwave through the WNBA and beyond. The protest grew from a collective breakfast huddle just hours earlier. Union President Nneka Agwamike and more than 40 players agreed to wear identical gear after a first in-person CBA meeting left them frustrated. When Commissioner Kathy Engelbert handed Nafisa Collier the MVP trophy, the crowd of 16,000 roared, "Pay them," in solidarity. Yet this dramatic gesture is only the opening chapter in a story about economics, contracts, and a labor deadline ticking ever closer. At the center stands Caitlin Clark. She earns just $76,535 under her rookie deal for 2025. That figure barely covers living costs in a major U.S. city. Still, Clark's impact dwarfs her earnings. An economic analysis by Indiana University finance professor Ryan Brewer found that Clark generated more than 25% of the entire WNBA's revenue last season. His research placed her contribution at 26.5% of league income, measured by attendance, television ratings, and merchandise sales. Fans snapped up her jersey in under an hour when it first launched. The surge added roughly $82.5 million in consumer spending to the Indiana economy. Brewer also estimated a $36.5 million GDP boost for Indianapolis tied directly to Clark's rookie season. Collectors echoed that urgency. One of her Panini Flawless rookie cards fetched $660,000 at auction in July 2025, nearly 9 times her annual league salary. That staggering sale underscored a striking disconnect. Her official salary remains locked at approximately $76,535 for 2025. Endorsement contracts have given her far more income off the court. Nike has poured $28 million into an 8-year deal. Gatorade, Hy-Vee, Wilson, and Gamebridge have added multi-year partnerships. Still, none of that revenue flows through the league's payroll system. Behind the scenes lies a critical deadline. In October 2024, the WNBA unilaterally opted out of the existing collective bargaining agreement after the 2025 season. Players agreed to force new negotiations rather than accept a one-sided add-on. If no agreement is reached by October 31st, 2025, the league faces its first potential work stoppage in history. Free agency, the 2026 draft, and the All-Star Game itself could all be in jeopardy as players refuse to compete under outdated terms. The July 18th CBA meeting in Indianapolis marked the first face-to-face talks between players and league executives since the opt-out vote. New York's Breanna Stewart called it a missed opportunity. She lamented that hours of discussion yielded little progress on revenue, sharing, or roster sizes. Players entered that room with hopes for a deal tying salaries to the league's rapid growth. They left believing too few concessions were offered. Discrepancies over a fixed percentage model versus a scaling revenue share remain wide. Travel standards, family planning benefits, and roster expansions also failed to see concrete movement. This clash of numbers and narratives has set the stage for a dramatic showdown. The shirts were a bold wake-up call, but the deeper struggle over fair compensation and sustainable growth is only just beginning. The moment the shirts hit the court, it became clear this fight was about far more than optics. Players returned to the negotiating room, ready to push for real change. What unfolded next exposed the deepest strains in the league's labor relationship. When the league's first package of proposals landed in early July, players reacted with disbelief. Phoenix Mercury forward Sadhu Sabali, who also serves on the union's executive council, called it a slap in the face. Instead of laying groundwork for a new era, she said, the initial offer felt like a distraction from genuine progress. At the heart of the dispute sits revenue sharing. Today, WNBA players receive roughly 9.3% of every dollar the league earns. By comparison, NBA players take home about half of league revenue. The union insists on a model that lets salaries grow as the league does, starting around 20% and scaling upward as rights deals, attendance, and merchandise sales climb. Beyond pay, roster size has become a symbol of the league's priorities. Current rules cap team rosters at 12 players. Union leaders argue that depth matters for quality of play, injury management, and fair employment. They want rosters expanded, possibly to 14 or 15, so veterans and rising stars alike can earn a living without being cut when rosters shrink. Equally urgent are benefits that reach beyond game day. The 2020 CBA introduced charter flights, maternity leave paid at full salary, and a child care stipend. Those wins were historic, but many players feel they don't go far enough. Brianna Stewart, the WNBPA's executive vice president, argues that long-term family planning support should come sooner than the current 8-year vetting period and include meaningful reimbursement for adoption, surrogacy, or fertility treatments. On travel, too, progress has been uneven. Charter flights once carried a sweet promise of security and comfort. Today, some teams still rely on commercial travel that can stretch players across multiple time zones with layovers and delays. For new mothers in the league, charter access can make the difference between staying home or joining a road trip. Many stress that reliable, safe travel is a fundamental part of professional respect. Union President Nneka Agwamike has taken a hard line. She reminds the league and its owners that this business is booming. TV viewership is up more than 20%, ticket sales are rising, and franchise valuations are climbing into the hundreds of millions. Shortchanging the working women who make this possible stalls growth, she says. Her message is simple. If the league's bottom line is surging, players deserve a greater slice. Sabrina Ionescu, representing the New York Liberty, echoed that determination. She made it clear the union will not settle for token increases. "We won't just take the minimum," she said at a public forum. Her words capture the feeling across locker rooms. This is a moment for bold steps, not baby step concessions. Voices outside the union have joined the chorus. Independently, Indiana Fever players Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson read a joint statement before a nationally televised game. "As the league grows, it's time for a CBA that reflects our true value," they declared. That prepared address showed how far players are willing to go to control their own narrative. Despite repeated meetings in Indianapolis and virtual sessions since October's opt-out vote, the gulf remains wide. League officials stress the need for financial sustainability. Players counter that the CBA must mirror the modern reality of a league no longer in its infancy. With each flashpoint, salary percentages, roster limits, benefits, travel improvements, negotiators inch closer to a standoff. The deadline of October 31st, 2025, looms large. Should talks collapse, free agency, the draft, even next year's All-Star Game could be in jeopardy. For now, the table remains set. When players and owners return, the questions won't be about a headline-grabbing protest. They'll be about the fundamental value of every woman on the court. Voices rose on every side once the "pay us what you owe us" shirts hit the court. Players, union leaders, league executives, and even Caitlin Clark's own camp stepped into the spotlight. Each comment deepened the story, revealing both the gap in pay and the gap at the bargaining table. Caitlin Clark herself has become a microphone for the cause. Though she sat out the All-Star Game with a groin injury, she was impossible to ignore in Indianapolis. Her face plastered on billboards for Nike, Wilson, and Gatorade, she stood before reporters and conceded, "That's a good question," when asked how those deals stacked up against her $76,535 rookie salary. Then she got to the point. "That's one of the things we're in the room fighting for. We should be paid more." Hopefully that's the case moving forward, as the league continues to grow. I think it's something that is probably the most important thing that we are in the room advocating about. Nafisa Collier gave voice to the fans who backed the players on that night. After drilling a WNBA All-Star record 36 points, she looked out at the packed crowd and said, "To have the fans backing us, I think it means everything." Her words captured how the protest became both a labor statement and a rallying cry, uniting supporters in the arena and beyond. Across town, the WNBPA delivered its own frank appraisal of the talks. In a written release, union leaders declared, The WNBA's response to our proposals fails to address the priorities we voiced from the day we opted out. We want a transformational CBA that delivers our rightful share of the business that we've built, improves working conditions, and ensures the success we create lifts both today's players and the generations that follow. They drove home the warning. Shortchanging the working women who make this business possible stalls growth. League leadership struck a different tone, but raised familiar themes of balance and sustainability. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert told reporters she was really optimistic that we'll get something done, that it'll be transformational, and that next year All-Star will be talking about how great everything is. She added, "We want the same things as the players. We want to significantly increase their salary and benefits, while balancing with our owners their ability to have a path of profitability." Her words underscored the tightrope the league walks between fair pay and financial stability. Behind the scenes, Clark's agent and camp have stayed largely out of the public fray, but Clark's own statements have filled the gap. By highlighting the divide between massive endorsement checks and a modest league paycheck, she has lent her voice without bypassing union channels. That subtler form of advocacy shows how star power can amplify, rather than replace, collective bargaining. Yet despite the optimism and the urgings, the two sides remain far apart. Players left their July meeting in Indianapolis frustrated that core demands, scaling revenue share, deeper rosters, better travel, more robust family planning benefits, saw little traction. The union warned that without a bold, new agreement, the more than 40 players who sat in that room would consider drastic steps to secure their rights. As the calendar inches toward October 31st, 2025, every statement matters. Each public declaration, whether from a player on the court, a union in a press release, or a commissioner to the media, builds the narrative of a league at a crossroads. In this high-stakes drama, talk alone won't close the gaps. The next words and the next offer on the table will tell us whether the WNBA truly values the women who made the game boom. Broadcast numbers keep climbing. TV viewership jumped more than 23% last season. More fans stream games on ESPN+, Amazon Prime, and local networks. Average attendance rose around 13% as new audiences discovered the league. Behind those gains lies a game-changing media rights deal. Starting in 2026, the WNBA will begin an agreement worth roughly $2.2 billion over 11 years. Disney, ESPN, Amazon, and NBC Universal will share broadcast duties. That money will flow into the league coffers. It should lift revenue far above today's levels. Even so, players know that extra cash does not automatically land in their paychecks. Media deals pad the bottom line for team owners first. The current CBA does allow more in salary caps as revenue rises. Yet players argue the growth should translate into bigger pay increases right away, not years down the road. Expansion is another lever. Portland and Toronto will join the league in 2026, bringing the total to 14 teams. Each new franchise paid a fee of about $250 million. That cash goes straight to ownership pockets. Young markets will add broadcast markets and local sponsors. More teams mean more national exposure. The league hopes to reach 16 or even 18 teams by 2030. More teams will mean more games. More games mean more ticket sales. Ticket revenue climbed almost 26% last year. Merchandise sales ticked up in sync with growing fan interest. Yet without a revised CBA, players will still earn the same base figures while owners reap the bulk of new income. Economists see a wider path ahead. Andrew Zimbalist at Smith College argues that a 50% revenue share is doable in a decade if growth trends continue. He points to the NBA model, where half of what the league makes goes to players. A similar model in the WNBA could double average salaries. It would also fund enhanced benefits, travel support, and family planning resources. Still, Zimbalist cautions that a 50% share will require robust safeguards. He wants clear timelines and triggers tied to ratings, attendance, and sponsorship milestones. That approach would prevent owners from stalling wage increases until years later. Players have seized on these projections. In recent press releases, Union leaders said they want a CBA that reflects today's realities. They call for revenue share that starts at 20% and scales up as contracts and expansion fees divert more money into the sport. They want charter flights for all road games, expanded rosters of 14 players, and maternity benefits from year one. Owners counter that they need time to recoup expansion fees and amortize media deals. They warn of lost profits if salaries spike too quickly. They also talk about the need to balance investments in training facilities, marketing, and community programs. The tug of war creates a high-stakes moment. If players and owners cannot bridge their differences by October 31st, 2025, a work stoppage could follow. Free agency could grind to a halt. The 2026 draft lottery might be delayed. Even next year's All-Star Week could be off the schedule. Every new dollar entering the WNBA adds fuel to this debate. Media rights and expansion cash have real power to reshape pay. Yet that power remains locked up until a new CBA unlocks it. In that sense, the future of the league rests on more than TV deals or new teams. It hinges on whether the people on the court get their fair share of what they help create. That's the story of a league at a crossroads. It's about women who turned a T-shirt into a movement. It's about a rookie who shines brighter than her paycheck. It's about a CBA deadline that could change everything. Your voice counts now. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like. Share it with friends who care about women's basketball. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think should happen next? And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the games and the people who shape them. Thanks for watching. Let's keep pushing for a game that values every woman on the court.